Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is Mr. Shakespeare here with you on the 26th of January 2023. I'm here with remote viewer and psychic medium Liz Cross. How are you doing today, Liz?
Very cold, but getting by. Thank you.
Okay. All right. This is the first of two videos we'll be doing on the WEF, the World Economic Forum. This is just going to be an overview video, really. We're going to try next week to drill down in a bit more of their, agenda and find out how that all panned out for them. But this is just a starter. So this is the annual event that's held in Davos in Switzerland every year. This year there were about 5,000 soldiers hired to protect them. Interesting. And they all fly in on their private jets. Apparently the shortest distance that one of the jets flew is about 21 miles, which is just a joke.
21 miles?
Yes, apparently. Yeah, I can't imagine that thing even took off the ground properly, but no longer, as soon as it got up, it came down. But yeah, 21 miles apparently. So, this was set up many years ago. Klaus Schwab is its head. He's sort of the most well-known figurehead of this program. Various people come to Davos in Switzerland to attend the World Economic Forum every year. This year, though, there appears to have been a change. Maybe we've already reached now what they're calling peak Davos. So if you can grab the World Economic Forum as an entity, please, Liz.
Yes, I have them.
Okay, so the first question I have is there's talk that approximately 50% of the attendees did not show up for one reason or another. Is that correct?
Yeah, 50% of the attendees did not show up for one reason or another. It's more like 30.
Okay. So that's still quite a high figure. That's people who paid. It's not cheap to go to the World Economic Forum. It costs quite a lot of money. So that's people who paid and then decided that they didn't want to go. So what do they think of that? Why do they think there was such a high cancellation rate or a no-show rate?
I don't think there was such a high cancellation rate. Well, according to the WEF, they're like, well, they just didn't want to come. But what was the main excuse? We're just skipping this year. So they weren't, not supporting the Davos. It was just that they were going to skip this year. That was the excuse that they gave. Right. The reality is, let's group the people that didn't go. Why didn't you go? It's a waste of time. That's why they didn't go. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. There's no valuable information there. So the ones that did not go, that is their response.
Oh, okay. Davos, or the World Economic, they're called the Davos crowd because they all meet in Davos in Switzerland, but the World Economic Forum seems, why does it self-style itself as a sort of a global unelected government?
Why do you see yourself as a global unelected government? Because we're very powerful. And the money, money is power. There's a lot of money behind all of this. They have a lot of influence. They have a lot of big people in this with a lot of big influence.
Right. But I mean, they don't, the people certainly are not interested in, an unelected global government. Why do they think that the people would ever be interested in a one world global unelected government?
Why do you think the people would be interested in an unelected global government? Because it serves them well. So from the WEF's point of view, this is their own thoughts, feelings, and opinions. It serves them well. But do you actually believe? Yeah, well, yeah, they do. And here's the answer that they're giving. The answer they're giving is the poverty-stricken, corrupt countries where people are absolutely dirt poor would love the World Economic Forum to step in and rule their country instead of all of these corrupt politicians. So what comes to mind is the Middle East, countries in the Middle East, countries in Africa, countries in South America, those countries that are really, really struggling and they cannot overcome the corruption. And I'm saying, but is this the basis of you being formed in the first place? And they said, yes, that is the basis. It's if we create a government and this government can take over, we can actually, in their minds, in the initial, creation of the World Economic Forum, in their minds is we can bring people out of poverty.
Last year in their publicity materials, there was a commercial made, and basically the slogan was, "You will own nothing and be happy." There's not one person that I've ever spoken to who subscribes to that view. Why do they believe that people want to own nothing? And how do they know that people will be happy if they owned nothing?
Well, so here's the thing. What do you mean about? So again, it's really focused on these poor countries that are, okay, you don't have to strive to own anything, but the government will provide it for you. And, it'll provide you housing. It will provide you food. It really is structured around lifting these poor areas, these very corrupt, struggling nations out of poverty, out of corruption. And they believe that having a one world government, right? So you take away from the rich and you give to the poor. So because you can't filter the tax money and the money to uplift these struggling nations out of poverty from those struggling nations. There's no money there. It's all tied up. It's all in laundering and corruption, right? So you need the money from the West and the very, profitable nations to disperse across into the poorer nations. And by doing that, they believe that they can create this, world of happiness, right? So, and we should, here you go, you're going to love this one. And we should show a lot of gratitude to them for the fact that they are able to do this. So we're supposed to give away our sovereignty, give away our wealth, give away our, owning things, right? In order that it benefits other people. And that's what they're saying. And by doing so, they control all the wealth, all the land, all the housing, all the food, right? It's a total ideology. Do you understand how they're thinking here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've never, I know a lot of people talk about the World Economic Forum. I see it on the Discord, and I don't pay much attention to it because I've never really looked into it. I know everybody's like, no, Liz, you must. I really don't have that kind of time. People send me videos and they send me things, and I wish I had the time to watch everything, but I don't. I really am time poor. So, but from this standpoint, I'd never thought of it in terms of what they're telling me, which is They're robbing the rich to pay for the poor. Now, the reason there's so many wealthy people and high-powered people that subscribe to Davos is because it's purely out of wealth management. They need to know where they stand against the World Economic Forum, right? In terms of how, if it becomes very powerful, it is going to affect them financially, right? So these massive oil companies go, education sector, everybody goes. I just feel like everybody goes. And they want to know either how it's going to benefit them if they're heads of state or government, or, how much they're going to have to pay to lift nations out of poverty. And the World Economic Forum, the way it's selling some of this information is that, and this is what I'm pulling from the World Economic Forum. This is not my personal thought, feeling, and opinion, because I could care less about what they do, right? But what I'm pulling from them is, well, the nations already give so much money over to these corrupt countries like, Pakistan, where people are starving in Africa. But the thing is, the money that the nations donate, it never trickles down to the right people who it's intended for. It's all kept at the top. And they believe that they would save, the way they're selling it is, we'll save you millions and millions and billions of dollars if you just give us the money and we take control and we are a one world government and we make sure that the money gets to whoever it is. But they don't understand. They would have to have a world military. They would have to have a world currency. They would have to have a world treasury. They would have to have a world police force to enforce all of this. Because if you start going into, and I'm saying to them, and the opposition who I have as an entity here, the people that didn't go, right? This is their comeback. If you're saying to people, we're just going to go into these countries and we're going to tell you how to run your country, when has that ever worked well, Mr. Shakespeare? Ever?
Well, no, it has not. And that's the problem. I cannot imagine that the big Wall Street firms or the Chase Manhattan Bank or anything like that is going to vote for its own demise just to give all its power and money and everything over to a bunch of people in Switzerland who have been going for about 52 years. I cannot imagine anybody doing that. It is not in anybody's self-interest to do that. And there was a book written many, many years ago, and the outcome was that people always act in their own self-interest first. Many people do not believe, the stated aims of the World Economic Forum. I mean, they believe they're a globalist organization hell bent on control. But the problem is, what have they ever achieved in their 52 years? They have no military. They have no direct. I mean, they cannot tell. What are they going to do? Go into China and tell China how to behave? Into Russia and to tell them how? Into America? They can't. They have no power. It's just, I don't know. Let's ask them the question. What have they actually achieved in the last 52 years since they formed in January 1971? Has Africa changed? Have they changed anything? What have they achieved?
Let's ask them. What have you achieved in Africa since 1951? We
71.
have. Oh, 1971. Since 1971. What have you achieved? Nothing. They haven't. But they're not going to give up hope.
Okay. So they failed and failed and failed year on year. And yet now they're still the answer for the future. Who believes that? Why do they think people believe them?
Okay, well, let's ask. Why do you think people would believe that you are a good system? Why do you believe that people would ever act out of somebody else's interest and not their own? Because it's the way the world is now being shaped. It's being shaped. It's being transformed. It's being conditioned to restructure the thinking from selfish to, selfless. And they believe that over time, that structure will overcome the selfish behavior, the selfish mindset. Now, that makes sense to me, okay? Because if you think about political agendas, propaganda, thought police, gender police, all of these things that are going on, and it's just eroding. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but because I've got kids, right? I know what's going on in these school systems. And my oldest is what he reports back is just sometimes, very different from certainly when I was in high school, right? I can see what they mean by this. So let me ask this question. Are you actually pushing out propaganda? Yes. Okay. So I feel behind the scenes, they have a lot of influence over education. They have a lot of influence over propaganda. They have a lot of influence in government. And part of their agenda, the underlying agenda, is to use these persuasion tactics, right? To create. Now, Klaus Schwab probably won't see this, but not in this lifetime, but to create a society where it's selfless. People can do what they want and be who they want, and nobody has to worry about anything. They don't have to worry about putting food on the table because you will be given food by the government. You see what I mean? And I'm going to ask them this question. Are you doing this under the guise of environmental protection? And that is a big, big infrastructure, mental infrastructure that they can push things through. Now, I'm not denying climate change, right? But these people are very, very clever. They know. It's kind of like Putin. When we've probed Russia, when we've probed Putin, the Russians are masters at psychological warfare, right? This is what they're doing.
Okay. One last question for this one then. In 2003, in the Davos 2003 World Economic Forum meeting in Davos in Switzerland, the title of the meeting was Building Trust. So 20 years later, do they believe that people trust the World Economic Forum? Yes or no?
Do you believe that people trust the world? No, because they have too much freedom. They have too many ways and means to communicate with one another by way of media, by way of internet. So no, and don't forget, to carry out their ideology, what they're saying to me is they would have to shut down communication and criticism.
Yeah, we can't have that, can we? We can't have criticism.
Right, because criticism leads to distrust, which can lead to potential uprisings.
Right.
Let's move them out 200 years.
Okay.
Let's see where they're going. No, seriously, let's see if they survive.
Let's go. Why don't we just move them out 20 years, see where they've gone?
Okay. 20 years from now is what? 43. Okay. January, what's today's date? The 26th? Sorry. January 26th, 2043, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, what would you like to know?
Are they still in existence?
Are you still in existence? Yes.
do they have? What is their have they achieved anything?
Have you achieved anything? Yes. So 20 years out, this social, how can I put it? This social mental construct that they're working on. See, you have to change the mind first before you have any physical changes, right?
Mhm.
They equate it to losing weight. They're like, you know, you have to have a mindset to be healthy, or you have to have a mindset to be fit, and you have to have a mindset to be an athlete, right?
Mhm.
That's what they're working on. It's the changing of the mindset. Now, 20 years out, the world in general has a very, very much softer approach with their mindset. It's become a more gentle place, a more accepting place. You know, these personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions that some people have that are very strong, they're getting watered down.
Mhm.
What else would you like to know?
Did they manage to solve the issues in Africa?
Did you manage to solve the issues in Africa? No, but they're working on it. You know, solving issues in Africa means that everybody has housing, everybody has access to water, everybody has electricity, or, you know, ways to cook food, everybody has health care, everybody has access to education. That's their mindset of solving problems. Now, I agree that all those things should be provided, right? But unfortunately, in very corrupt nations where, you know, money is sparse, and you know, it's very difficult to provide all that. This, you know, what we have here in the West, we're very fortunate to have access to that. Now, of course, we all criticize the education, and I'm also a criticizer, you know, one to critique that education. I'm like, what are they teaching in these schools today? But you know, but the basic necessities are access to food, water, shelter, medical, and education.
Okay. All right. Well, let's stop that one here. As I say, this is one of two. Going to do another video in a week's time, maybe, where we'll go through some of the individual agenda items that they had, and we'll see how they pan out.
Yeah, I think this was a very good probe. I mean, were you able to learn something through this probe? Like, I learned a lot. I didn't know that that's real. Well, I don't know anything about them really, but what did you learn from this probe? What's the takeaway? Go on, Mr. Shakespeare. I know you're dying to give an opinion.
Okay, so
I know. People will be upset.
they are, I think I said it all in the beginning, they are an unelected global think tank that nobody needs. Okay.
Well,
they are a $5 billion. I mean, they're a multi-million-dollar operation because it's very expensive to be a part of their operation. So from that point of view, you know, they've got a big headquarters they operate just like a big corporation. It's just that, you know, they're trying to take over and they want to run the world. But all these people are, you know, some of the most self-centered, sanctimonious, evil, inverted looking people. If you look at some of the people that go to Davos, you know, and you're trying to tell me while they're sitting on their private jets that they're concerned about water supply in Botswana in Africa, give me a break. You know,
well,
come on.
Ultimately, you're right. All politicians are corrupt. We know that. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but they're not just politicians that go there. You know, we also got heads of industry and sort of people like that. You know, it's all held in secret. They had to pay 5,000 troops to guard them. You know, I mean, hello. And they all flying on their private jets, and yet they're going to lecture us about traveling in our cars and all sorts of stuff. I mean, the hypocrisy is off the scale. You know, I'm hoping that over time, that any influence I think the problem is that their influence is never overtly, it's covertly. So, they influence a lot of things through back doors and back channels, not necessarily front. So they are a globalist think tank. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot see the global south, the turn east brigade at the, going along with what on in any way, shape or form. And I don't believe that these people will be in any position to change them. Not now, not in 20 years' time. So.
Yeah. Well, this was a good probe. I really enjoyed it. Again, if you have any questions that you would like to see answered, tag Mr. Shakespeare on the Discord regarding
specific questions to do with this year's agenda, what they discussed. If we can find out, because lots of people make speeches. I mean, John Kerry was there, my God, according to John Kerry, the whole world should have been underwater 7 years ago. So, I mean, all this nonsense. If you have questions for actual people and agendas that there were different agendas, different subsections within, as there are every year with the WEF. So, questions along those lines, that would be good. So specifics. So then we can program, this is what they say, this is what they want to happen. And then we can take them out or take the WEF out further out and see if it actually happens. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be great. Well, thank you very much. If you want to get on the Discord, you need to join Patreon. It's like $3.50 a week. Seriously, it's so cheap. It's ridiculous. And you get CTT healing groups. You get access to a lot of exclusive information. You get big discounts on readings, $40 off for CTT sessions, $30 off for regular readings. The Patreon subscribers will have first dibs at my calendar opening up and accepting bookings for just the next few months. They will have it. And I'm telling you, I feel like they're going to fill it all up. So please, come join us. You support the channel. You get to talk to Mr. Shakespeare and Mr. Robot and Max. It's a lot of fun there. So we'll hope to see you there. Patreon /remote viewing and beyond. Thank you very much.